At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Chicago Cubs. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Citi. Learn about Citi perks at Mets.com/Citi. By Geico, over 75 years of savings and service. By Cadillac, visit CadillacTristate.com for exceptional offers. And by State Farm agent of the game, Pat Cawley of Glendale, New York. Contact Pat at patcawley.com. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling with you tonight as the Mets start a 9-game homestand with the first of 4 against the Chicago Cubs. The Cubs have been to the League Championship Series each of the last 3 years, won a World Series title 2 years ago. Got off to a bit of a slow start this year, and they've been sort of a hot and cold entity.
Yeah, if you read this graphic, these are all the good things that have happened for this ball club all year long. But in their 29 wins, they've averaged about 8 runs scored per game, and their 23 losses around 2. When you look at their starting pitching, I think that has been real Achilles heel for this ball club too. Chatwood and Darvish, you've gotten almost nothing, and Quintana, he's been hot and cold also.
Bullpen's been great on the other hand. For the Mets, they come off a series in Atlanta where they gained a fortunate split, in part because of the heroics of Ahmed Rosario, who is really maturing before our eyes.
Well, we're seeing him advance and get it more comfortable, particularly at the plate. I really thought he had 7 hits in that 4-game series, and this one right here, this triple off of Tehran, really impressed me, and that's the kind of quick bat that he has, and I feel he's made great strides. And of course, we can't forget the great play that he made in the field, that double play that saved the ball game, diving up the middle.
Little change in the Mets pitching staff starting tonight, and that means Seth Lugo comes out of the bullpen where he's been awfully successful and gets his first start of the year.
What's going to be interesting to see is if Seth Lugo comes out as a starter. He's been more effective as a reliever, although 12 wins and 26 starts. It'll be interesting to see if he comes out firing on all blazes, comes out and tries to get through as many innings as he can, or as he tries to give them 4 or 5 innings. They could really use it.
And for the Cubs, the veteran left-hander Jose Quintana struggling with walks this year.
Really has. Last year, 2.7 walks per game. Now up over 4 walks per game. That has been the big difference for Quintana this year.
Like his teammates, he has been hot and cold this year. He's had some great starts and some really bad ones. Mets and Cubs open a 4-game series at Citi Field. All the action coming your way on SNY. from the New York Lottery. Go to sny.tv/New York Lottery to enter. By Cure Auto Insurance. Isn't it about time to switch your car insurance and save? Visit Cure.com today. And by Spectrum. Hey, Mets fans, get the best TV, internet, and voice service today at Spectrum.com. This Sunday is a McDonald's Family Sunday at Citi Field. The Mets take on the Cubs at 1:10. The first 15,000 fans in attendance will receive a Mets fanny pack presented by Empire City Casino. Plus, all kids 12 and under can run the bases post-game in the Mr. Met Dash presented by Northwell Health. For tickets, visit Mets.com/tickets. Murky night at Citi Field. I guess this weather followed the Mets from Atlanta. Rain is holding off, though. Seth Lugo about to throw the first pitch. We'll be back for that. However, the rosin bag. Forgot.
Like he thinks there's a bag of candy in there.
Is he going to go back out?
Nope.
Oh, the bat boy picked him up.
He wanted to take the rosin bag home.
It's a lot of people handling that rosin bag.
If you gave a kid a rosin bag, you know how much of a mess he could make?
I know, right?
Seth Lugo's made 20 relief appearances this year. This will be his first start since late last season. And he is raring and ready to go against the Cubs starting lineup. Jason Hayward hitting as high as second in the order for the first time since 2016. Why? He's had back-to-back 3-hit games. This Cubs team second in the National League in runs scored, first in on-base percentage, first in slugging. So after the Mets just got done with the highest scoring team in the National League, now they face Joe Maddon's team, which is right behind the Braves.
Well, it's not your picture, folks. We are not playing this game at the Isle of Man. It is very humid and overcast here. Toyota numbers for Seth Lugo. 20 appearances out of the bullpen. Outstanding, his first start of the year.
Dropped an Isle of Man reference?
Yeah, I mean, look at it.
I thought you were going to drop the Isle of Wight on us.
I thought we were going to be heading for the White Cliffs of Dover. Well, Ryan Gorman has an issue. He wants a headset, and I'm not sure why.
Or having a replay.
What happened?
They're having a replay to see if the rosin bag was dropped properly.
Well, let's see.
I have no.
We've got conversation over here with Trip Gibson coming over to talk to Mickey Callaway with looked like a lineup card in his hand. Mickey seems to be squared away. Joe Madden had brought something up to the home plate umpire Brian Gorman, and, well, we have no idea. It would be a nice thing if one of these days Major League Baseball would do what the NFL does and mic the umpires, so that when we have situations like this, maybe they could let everybody in the stands and at home know what's going on.
Look at that old-fashioned clicker in the left hand of Brian Gorman.
That's right.
I love it.
The ball strike indicator.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, now Seth Lugo, after throwing his warm-up pitches, has to wait around.
I have no idea what went down here.
Safe or out?
He didn't make a call.
Oh.
But it's all good, whatever it is. Maybe a communication problem. Sometimes if maybe Joe Madden said their phone to the bullpen wasn't working, something of that ilk. So whatever it is, they've gotten it squared away. Keith?
Lexus, Metzi, infield. Jay Bruce, third start at first base. Guillorme, his sixth start at third. In the outfield, Batista, he's played terrific. Good defense out in left. Brandon Nimmo's been everywhere. 10 games in left, 8 in center, and this is his 8th start in right field.
Ben Zobrist leads off for the Cubs. Zobrist bouncing back from a rough year last year at age 37. And Seth Lugo ready to throw the first pitch of the night. And it's in for a call strike, and we're underway. Zobrist, Hayward, and Bryant for the Cubs. See the murk that has descended on Citi Field. And the curveball fouled down the left field line. And it's 0-2 to Zobrist.
That fan had his shot. Second pitch of the game, right in his hands. Clank.
Jason Hayward waits on deck. Most pitches Lugo's thrown in the game this year is 48. Mickey Callaway is hoping at the outside maybe he can get 65 out of Lugo tonight. But what he said is that he wants Seth to approach starting the way he has approached relieving this year.
Which means that maybe he'd go 2+ and just go to the bullpen. It would be almost like a bullpen game.
They'd still have 9 relievers as they did last night. Zobrist carves one foul. That'll probably change tomorrow once they get past Lugo's start. They've got Zach Wheeler pitching tomorrow and Jacob deGrom the next day, so you get a little back into a normal mode after Vargas pitched on short rest last night and Lugo making his first start tonight. Steven Matz hoping to be able to make his start on Sunday. That's still very much up in the air. Zobrist hits a tapper. Rosario has to charge it, throwing on the run, and gets Zobrist for the first out of the night.
Well, he has to come in and get this ball in a hurry and get rid of it. Nice play. Rosario's played a very nice shortstop. One good thing about Rosario was, for a long time he was hitting around 220, 230. He did not let it affect his glove in the field. He's played a sparkling shortstop all season.
So here's Hayward, who recently came back from a concussion that set him out for a couple of weeks. And he's had a couple of 3-hit games in a row and takes a curveball down for ball 1. But Hayward's offensive numbers continue to lag the numbers on his contract.
Well,
he was brought in because he's a great defensive player, but the offense he's provided in 3 years with the Cubs has been minimal. And a fastball in for a strike, 1-1.
Well, never be able to live up to that contract. The best thing he's done for this Cubs team was to win one for the Gipper in the rain delay of the Game 7.
You're saying one speech was worth $184 million.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's the
that's the equation so far.
So far,
he has won 5 Gold Gloves, and he is by any stretch the best right fielder in the game.
And it's not his fault that the team gave him 184. He had 2 other offers on the table at 200 plus.
Curveball chopped off the plate. Lugo will take it to the bag himself and beats the diving Hayward there for the second out. Nicely done by Lugo. 2 away.
There's a case where you got Jay Bruce at first base, does not quite know what to do. And those are the tough ones. You got to read. Jay's way off the base, and Lugo very alertly realized it and took the play himself.
Spring training, you work on that play all the time. It's called the in-between play between the pitcher and the first baseman.
Jay's still getting comfortable playing first base. It's foreign to him. Here's Chris Bryant with 2 out. We're told that there was a communication problem with the replay system. That's what they were talking about before the game.
So no replays today?
That'd be wonderful.
Lugo did a nice job because of the angle he took on this play. When that ball was hit, the only way you make this play as a pitcher is you're moving towards first to cover. And he took that nice angle and just had enough speed to beat Hayward. It's a fine play.
Full shift on against Bryant, the former MVP, who takes low and away. 2-1.
You know, he's been hurt a lot, but I wonder if Devin Mesoraco brings an interesting perspective on the Cubs hitters that maybe the Mets don't have because he was in that division for so long.
Bryant takes one the other way toward the right field line. That lands fair and bounces toward the corner. And Bryant cruises into second base with a 2-out double, his 17th double of the year.
He goes with this pitch. So outer half of the plate and up. Looks like he was just going to looking away. He's one of those guys that wants to hit everything in the air.
So the first base runner of the night, a 2-out double for Bryant, and now Anthony Rizzo, whose bat has heated up after a dreadful start to the season. Had an 11-game hitting streak stopped yesterday by the Pirates, and he takes a fastball for a strike.
Very powerful, classic cleanup hitter.
See Bryant now tied for the National League lead in doubles. Rizzo's driven in 14 runs in his last 12 games. In fact, he has 28 RBIs in the month of May, after just 9 at the end of April. And he gets jammed. Lugo works him inside, which you have to do against Rizzo, who stands right on top of the plate.
He's got a big, powerful swing. So he is a classic cleanup hitter.
I'd go to the well with the base open, though. Contreras up next. I'd make sure that Rizzo gets at least 2 to 3 pitches out of the strike zone.
That is a good 2-3 inch choke up right there.
Rizzo gets jammed again, loops one out to Rosario, side retired. Nicely done by Lugo, keeping it in on Rizzo, and he works around the Bryant double. Mets come to bat in the bottom of the first with no score. against the left-hander, and so is Jay Bruce. As Adrian Gonzalez sits, Jose Bautista, who's been probably the hottest bat in the Mets lineup since he arrived, stays in that 3-hole tonight against the veteran Jose Quintana.
The Colombian southpaw, we were talking about the hot and cold. His Land Rover numbers don't show this. 5 starts out of his 10, his ERA is almost 11. The other 5 starts, it's 0.30.
He's had 4 starts where he has not allowed an earned run this year. His last one was not one of those. He threw 4 1/3 against the Giants, gave up 4 runs and 5 hits. Brandon Nimmo had a great road trip, 10 for 30 with 7 extra base hits. And that doesn't even count all the times he was hit by a pitch. Brandon's on-base percentage, a hefty .429 starting the night. And he stays up at the top even against the lefty. He's hitting just .154 against left-handers. Of course, the Mets have had a team-wide problem against lefties, which is only exacerbated by the long-term absence now of Cespedes and Frazier.
And they're facing a lot of left-handed pitching the next week or so.
3 of 4 in this series. They'll face Mike Montgomery Saturday, John Lester on Sunday. There's Cespedes, who still is working out but not ready for rehab. Frazier, on the other hand, will begin his rehab assignment for Las Vegas tonight. He's expected to play 5 innings and get that ball rolling. Of course, the Mets also have Wilmer Flores, who in past years has been such a force against lefties, on the sidelines with a back problem. 2-1 to Nimmo with Cabrera on deck. And Nimmo slashes 1 foul. 2-2. There are the city probables. Tyler Chatwood leading the league in walks against Zach Wheeler tomorrow. Mike Montgomery taking Yu Darvish's spot in the rotation against Jacob deGrom Saturday night. And Steven Matz hopefully on Sunday against John Lester.
Todd Frazier, never been on the DL before until this one. I didn't know that till today.
Two from Quintana, and another foul ball. Jose Quintana came cross town last summer during the All-Star break, was traded from the White Sox to the Cubs, had a 10 strikeout performance his last game with the White Sox, a 10 strikeout performance his first game with the Cubs. Nobody had ever done that before for 2 teams in the same town.
He had over 200 punch-outs last year.
But this year his strikeouts are down and his walks are up. And he strikes out Nimmo with a fastball for the first out. It seems we've said that about a lot of pitchers this year.
Yeah.
That their strikeouts are down and their walks are up, at least early in the season.
Well, he has been in his career as Nimmo swings through this ball. Quintana's been that Mr. Dependable. He's a guy that's going to make 30 starts. He's going to give you 200 innings. His career record is 62 and 61, but you know that's blemished by playing for the White Sox through some lean years.
Here's Cabrera. After his 2 home run game on Tuesday night, he's now hitless in his last 7 at bats. He's fallen out of the top 10 in batting in the league, batting at .307, and takes a first pitch fastball for ball 1. Cabrera and Bautista have a lot of at bats against Quintana. Only one other hitter in the lineup has ever faced Quintana, and that is Ahmed Rosario. That's faced Quintana last year. After he came over to the Cubs, he had also faced the Mets once with the White Sox. He was involved in a 1-0 game against Matt Harvey back in 2016.
It was Harvey's big game, right?
No, it was the other one.
The other one, that's
he had
right.
2 good games against the White Sox. The one hitter where he got the no decision, and this one where he beat Quintana 1-0.
I said the record of Quintana. I think everyone in baseball considers this young man a much better pitcher than that, and he'll get a chance to prove it with a good Cubs team that hasn't hit their stride yet but played better in May.
Well, their pitching's been terrific, particularly their bullpen. Their starters have been a little spottier. Lester's been really good, and everybody else trying to catch up. I guess you can say Hendricks has been really good too.
Yes, especially his last 4 starts. Hendricks lost the game yesterday 2-1 to the Bucks.
The Jeep Cub infield, you've got Baez at shortstop. He's normally their second baseman. Ben Zobrist plays everywhere. It's only his 9th start at second base. You got the Gold Glover over at first. And in the outfield, you've got that big left-handed Schwarber over there in left field. A little questionable with the glove, but he can pop them.
2-2 to Cabrera, and he strikes him out with a high fastball. So back-to-back strikeouts for Quintana to start the night. 2 out.
Taking advantage of the top part of the strike zone is Quintana, who mostly throws the ball on the knees or lower. You were talking about that defense, Keith. Hayward is as good as they get. Happ and Schwarber not so much. Their outfield defense is a liability tonight.
And of course, the other piece about the Cubs defense is that Javi Baez could be a Gold Glover at every position on the field,
including the outfield. Yeah, you're right.
Here's Bautista, 7 for 19 in a Mets uniform. That's a .368 average since the Mets picked him up, and he has looked terrific.
He's got a fast bat. That's what you look for in an aging player, and he's quick. He's a guy you've got to keep the ball down on. You give him that high ball, he stays nice and level on it. He's hit some line drives.
You might have seen on the graphic he's just 2 for 22 against Quintana, but Bautista's last big league home run came against Quintana when the Braves went to Wrigley Field May 14th. One of the 2 he hit with Atlanta.
Yeah, both hits are home runs. Those 2 for 22.
1-2 coming, and he struck him out. High fastballs to get all 3 hitters in the inning. Nimmo, Cabrera, and Bautista, as Quintana strikes out the side. Strong start for the Cubs lefty. After 1, Mets and Cubs, no score. Second inning with no score. Wilson Contreras leads off against Seth Lugo. Contreras has been red hot with the bat, hitting .349 over the last 17 games, and he takes the pitch high from Lugo for ball 1. If you look at the fastball velocity for Lugo, he's up about 2.5 miles an hour this year compared to last after his move to the bullpen.
Well, he's a great example of the uptick and stuff when he only has to pitch 1 or 2 innings. As a starting pitcher now, his record's great, 12-6. But ERA as a starter in the 4s, as a relief pitcher, 2.5.
In fact, the Mets are 17-9 in his 26 career starts. And he misses with a curveball and falls behind Contreras 3-1. Javi Baez on deck, then Kyle Schwarber in the second. And Contreras fouls it off, 3-2.
Contreras is not a big guy, but he's got some pop. Very athletic catcher.
26 home runs last year. He's hit only 4 so far this year.
Joe Madden has hit him in the cleanup spot just about as much as Rizzo's hit there.
Well, he's used Rizzo all over the place. Hit him lead off.
So the Mets know how Rizzo can lead off here at this ballpark. It's the first pitch. Home run.
Well, remember the last 2 games the Mets played against the Cubs last year, they lost 17-5 and 14-6. So they've got a little hole to dig out of in that run differential. Rolled out slowly to short for Rosario. And Lugo doing a really nice job jamming hitters with his fastball. That's the first out. Let's check in with Steve Gelbs in the M&M Suite Seats. Steve's report brought to you tonight by M&M. Steve?
Gary, Javier Baez coming up to the plate. He's having such an incredible start to the season for the Cubs. He leads the National League, tied for the National League in RBIs, second in slugging percentage. And I was speaking with Ben Zobrist just what he's observed from Javier Baez so far this season, the steps forward that he's taken. And he said Baez is at this point where he can basically cover any pitch anywhere in and in some cases out of the strike zone, but not just cover that pitch. He can drive most pitches. And the one thing that he was speaking about in particular was the slider down and away that most righties can barely get the bat on. He says he not only can put that ball into play, but he can hit that ball for a home run. So it's been fun for these Cubs to watch the evolution here of Javier Baez.
Hardly necessary to throw him a strike. He's got the highest chase rate in baseball this year.
He's got 46 strikeouts on the year. He's always been a free swinger, one that shall not pass.
In fact, he's got 169 consecutive plate appearances without drawing a walk. And look at that, 50% swing rate on pitches out of the strike zone, by far the most in baseball.
On a scale of 1 to 10, his undisciplined is probably 10. His athleticism, also a 10.
Well, he's turning into a latter-day Clemente, Guerrero. I mean, those guys who had such success, Yogi Berra, going out of the strike zone and being successful.
Just a great hand-eye coordination.
I mean, he's never going to have a high on-base percentage because of that, but he's got 13 home runs this year and 43 driven in.
He's just one of those aggressive hitters, and I think as he gets more experience, I was shocked to see him take a breaking ball though early in the count and take a strike. He's never been one. So he's just, some guys are just comfortable letting it fly and don't need a gauge, and I think he's just one of those guys.
So how would you approach him, Ronnie? Would you bounce curveballs to him? How do you pitch to a guy like that?
Well, I think what Keith's saying is one of the reasons why he's tied for the lead in RBIs. He's not chasing that pitch way off the strike zone like he's done before. But yes, you're trying to get ahead. You can't let him get extended, so you got to spend a lot of time inside on Baez.
There you go.
Well, he got him to chase that time. A curveball out of the strike zone for Lugo's first strikeout of the night.
And I also think for Baez, probably had the perfect place and time, playing for a manager, Joe Madden, who appreciates players that are not all one mold. Like he likes the free spirit, the person that can kind of change a game with one swing.
So now Kyle Schwarber, another guy who doesn't necessarily fit a mold. Guy without a position who's been playing left field. Former catcher.
Madden's just a very unique. We hear about all these young managers who got their jobs this year because they said they are great communicators. Well, Joe Madden, to me, this generation, or 65, 66 years old, he was the first real great communicator as a manager. On and off the field. Keith, you'd love this. He makes his players come late in August. Give them a rest. Take the bus at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock. Everyone's going to be on it.
He's a bit off the wall.
Yep.
And coming out from right field somewhere. And he's quirky. And players like that. So, but there's a line you have to draw as a manager too, and I think that he does that perfectly.
Half swing by Schwarber. He goes around in the high fastball, and Lugo has back-to-back strikeouts to finish off the second. The fog keeps descending lower as we start the home second. And Michael Conforto takes a fastball outside from Jose Quintana.
So is the world having bad weather, or is the bad weather just following the Mets?
You know, I heard it was nice while we were away.
It was beautiful every day.
Conforto takes one the other way, and he's got the Mets' first hit. Chased down by Schwarber. Conforto's going to challenge his arm, and he's going to be out by a mile. Schwarber with his 5th outfield assist of the year, and that was not a good gamble.
Well, they had him played down the left field line. Now let's see Michael. Nice hitting. It's good to see, because he's been struggling against left-handers, hitting only 158. Nice play by Zobrist, too, on an in-between hop.
I think that's a classic case that before the game you say, hey, Schwarber, we're going to run on him every chance you get, and but you couldn't do it on that.
I mean, that was there was absolutely no chance to be safe unless he makes a terrible throw, and he didn't.
It was like a 100-foot throw.
There's Devin Mesoraco with 1 out, and he takes a strike. Well, in my experience, the guys who have the most outfield assists are generally the guys who are not very good at throwing people out because people challenge them all the time.
That's true.
And Schwarber now has 5 of them this year, up among the league leaders. Mesoraco, 5 home runs and 50 at bats as a Met. But you usually have to wait till, you know, the last stages of the game. All his home runs as a Met have come in the 8th or 9th inning, or 8th inning or later. There's your Verizon trivia question. On this day 41 years ago, Joe Torre became the player manager of the Mets, who was the last major league player manager.
And Keith and I played against the last player manager, I think.
Oh, yes.
If it's who I think it is. Yeah. 2-2 to Mesoraco with Jay Bruce on deck. And Evan gets a curveball and grounds it down to Bryant at third. And there are 2 out. Customize your experience to catch every moment this season. Get New York Mets home screen icons and features such as the MLB.TV Game of the Day, pitch tracking, in-game highlights, live radio broadcasts, stats, news, and more. Download MLB at Bat today. Now Bruce, who is waiting for the calendar to turn tomorrow. In the month of May, he's hitting .207 with 1 home run and 3 runs batted in, which is almost incomprehensible. Especially the last part. 3 RBIs in May.
And he's got the same amount of home runs as Rosario.
He's had a tough time of it. He's still got the bat speed. He's been under a lot, hitting a lot of high fly balls.
What I've seen, Keith, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that when he hits the ball gap to gap and it appears he hits it well, the ball's not jumping the way it used to.
I just see him getting. He's been out in front. He's a dead pull hitter. You don't want to change that. He's a power guy. I still see a fast bat. I see a little bit of a lift swing, and you know how many times you're going to hit your head against a wall and keep hitting fly balls. I mean, he's gotten some balls that he's just missed. So I would try to focus more on the top half of the ball until I get my swing back. Not my swing, my timing, excuse me.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he's working on it. There he is choking up in that bat, too.
Well, you see more guys choking up, but does that mean it's a 2-strike approach? If you still swing hard, choking up, right?
Well, you know, Jay's not a line drive average hitter. He's a power guy.
Well, there was a time in his career when he was, you know, more of an all-field hitter, but he has made the adjustment over the last few years to be a guy who wants to hit the ball in the air 4 times, and it paid off for him. He had 36 home runs last year. It's not paying off this year. He lines that one to left center for a base hit, so he did it more Keith style that way.
Well, that's a good sign too. Getting on top of that ball. You know, when you're not going well, you can't go for the downs. You got to do this, get the ball, hit it back deeper in, let the ball come in deeper, work to the opposite gap. Here's the swing right here. And there's nothing wrong with that.
So Bruce at first with 2 out. Mets with a couple of hits in the inning. And here is Rosario, whose bat has really picked up. Double and a triple last night. 7 for 17 in the series in Atlanta. And he's in the 7-hole tonight with Guillorme 8th and Lugo hitting 9th. So a little different look in the Mets' lower part of the batting order.
It was like we're not moving him out of number 9 because that's where he's comfortable, except we have a lot of people hurt now. We need him to bat up in the lineup. So
Guillorme has been notable for his glove, and 8 seems to be the right spot for him. Fly ball along the line, a long run for Hayward, and it lands foul.
That is the second time I've seen the ball boy down the right field line clear out in fair territory.
You got to run, take the seat and run towards the dugout.
I think he's got to run. If it's a fly ball, make your judgment. If it's in front of you, then move back away from it. But if it's deeper than you, you've got to come down the line towards the dugout. Absolutely right, Ron. You can't go out in fair territory.
You're on the field.
Little tapper. Out goes Contreras. Close play, but he got him. Side retired. Contreras with a strong throw to gun down the speedy Rosario and end the inning. Mets wastes a couple of hits in the second. No score after 2. throwing his curveball more than ever and having more success with it this year. Ian Happ leads off in the third and takes that first pitch curveball for a strike.
It's the second time he's let off a hitter with a curveball. He has not thrown it. I'm charting his curves today. Not thrown it as much as 30%.
Happ, switch hitter with a lot of power, takes up and in for ball one.
59 strikeouts and 127 at bats, folks. Oh,
And it's nearly a strikeout every other at bat.
Yeah.
Which has got to be right up there with the highest rates in the game.
That's 250 to 300 for a full year.
oh boy, I tell you, you wouldn't want to be around me.
We like being around you now. He rolls one out for Cabrera to handle. And Happ retired one away. Well, you saw the curveball from Seth Lugo. That's been his bread and butter. And he talked about how he throws it and what it feels like.
If you feel your elbow whenever you pitch, if you throw a fastball, you can feel your ligaments move. And then if you throw the curveball right here with almost like shaking a hand, your ligaments do the same thing as a fastball. You start to twist, you can feel the ligaments in the elbow. You can feel everything move, and that's where you get in trouble. That's what's dangerous. So if you just keep that same wrist movement just like a fastball, straight up and down, then it takes the pressure off the elbow.
And of course, he's a pitcher who is pitching with a partially torn ulnar collateral ligament in his elbow.
It's nice to talk pitching with Seth. He's really intelligent about it. He's put a lot of thought into it. And he's exactly right. What he told you there, if you're a youngster, take it to heart.
Lugo takes care of Quintana for the second out.
See the curveball, he tries to keep it in a javelin style straight, and then at the very end, in front of his face or ear, that's when he starts to break. Most people who throw curveballs get in trouble because they try to start to break when the ball's behind them. You start to break the ball as soon as your hand clears your head.
Now Ben Zobrist with 2 out and nobody on, grounded out to short, leading off the game, and takes the fastball away. Took something off, and it's 1-1. Yes, it's murky. No, it's not your TV.
At least it's not cold.
Yeah, it's just cool and humid.
Cool and humid I can take. Cold I'm through with.
Yeah, you may not be yet. That smack toward the hole, a base hit for Zobrist. With Rosario playing over behind the second base bag, that left the shortstop hole open, and Zobrist has the Cubs' second hit off Lugo. So now we're starting to get to that point where you wonder how far Seth can go in this game.
Well, with the shift on, that ball has to be inside. It bled on the outside corner, and the veteran Zobrist smart enough to hit it against the defense. Just go with it. A lot of room over there.
So a 2-out single. 44 pitches now for Lugo. We mentioned earlier his high this year has been 48. Here's Hayward, who chopped one off the plate that Lugo fielded his first time up. And he bloops that one into shallow left. On comes Bautista and drops in for a base hit. So Hayward with a bloop hit, and the Cubs have 2 men on for Bryant.
No, nothing you can do about this. That's just well placed.
Yeah, he couldn't throw it out there better than that. Rosario, the last, I don't know, 2 weeks or so, he's been much more aggressive on those balls out to the outfield. It seemed to me in the first month, kind of didn't want that pop up in the outfield, but now he's aggressive, wants to make that play. That's half the battle.
Gary DiSarcina, the Mets infield coach, has done a lot of work with Rosario, and I think he's been much more on point defensively in every area. So here's Bryant. Dangerous spot for Lugo. First and second and 2 out. Bryant doubled down the right field line his first time up. And takes the first pitch, fastball for a strike.
Doesn't like it in there, especially waist high or above. He can get to the one down.
Yes, he can. Not up.
One thing about pitching this Cubs team inside, they get hit by a lot of pitches, not just Rizzo, but Bryant and Contreras, all up among the league leaders in getting hit. And the Cubs as a team have gotten hit by the most pitches.
They have a team that won't give anything. They kind of dive in there and hold their ground. Also have a lot of big athletes, don't they? Rizzo and Bryant, Hayward.
234 hitter so far this year against right-hand pitching, Bryant.
He lines one, and Cabrera well positioned to pick it on one hop and throw him out. Side retired. Bruce had trouble getting back to the bag in time, but it all clicked for the Mets there as Lugo finds his way out of trouble in the top of the third. Cabrera in the right spot. Now you have to wait for Bruce to get back to first base. Still learning. No score at Citi Field. Luis Guillorme leads off against Jose Quintana. And a drag bunt. But Quintana on it quickly. The glove flip to get Guillorme. I don't see pitchers do that very often.
Well, it's dangerous. That's why you don't do it.
Yes.
He had so much time. You just need to transfer it to his bare hand and a better shovel. Sometimes it'll stick on the end of your glove and you won't have an accurate play. But style points, it's a good style point play.
I like it better when the pitcher throws the glove and ball together.
Mulholland?
Yes. Or El Duque. Here's Lugo, 0 for 5 this year, lifetime 140 hitter. And has anybody stood further from the plate this year than Lugo is standing right now?
So after you get it, if you're going to flip it with your glove, you have to open up the end of the glove so it just comes shooting out like a. What's the thing in high lie? Cesta?
Cesta is the
whatever.
The hook.
The hook.
Yeah.
So it's like that. You kind of like shovel it that way.
It's the pelota that comes out of the cesta.
Yes, yes. So if you want the pelota to come out of the cesta, make sure it's open.
Why do I feel like we're doing botany?
Yeah, right.
Pistils and stamens.
That's right.
Brandon Nimmo on deck.
Lugo's first at bat as a starting pitcher.
Well, there have been plenty of bats for the bullpen this year. Yesterday, the Mets got to, I think it's 20 now, plate appearances for their relievers this year, which leads the world.
Mickey Callaway alluded, though, after this game tonight, you're going to try to get another bench player.
Yes.
Well, they've got the 9-man bullpen, which they had to for these last couple of games, with Vargas on short rest and Lugo making his first start. Lugo's throwing 48 pitches through 3 innings, so you figure he's good for one more?
One more.
And ball 4. So Quintana issues his first walk, and it's to the opposing pitcher.
Well, the 2-2 pitch was there, and it's a pitch that usually an umpire will call against the opposing pitcher. He didn't call it, and he kind of squeezed. What do you say, goosed? Squeezed that final pitch.
Goosed it.
Goosed it in there.
So now Nimmo has struck out his first time up.
Through the mist.
Brandon getting a chance to play more and more against lefties, still trying to figure them out. And takes a fastball for a strike.
You guys a big fan of Into the Mystic by Van Morrison?
Well, that's a beautiful song.
I love that song. Sad song, but.
How about Play Misty for me?
Oh, Clint.
That was the first time I ever saw your face, right? That was the theme song in that movie, I believe. Roberta Flack.
Call.
Misty Blue.
Some of those games in Atlanta, the Mets fans were misty-eyed.
Maybe misty brained after a while. Cabrera on deck. 2-1 to Nimmo. And Brandon shoots one down the left field line. That's going to go into the corner. An extra base hit. Lugo racing for third as Schwarber gets to it. Nimmo's got an opposite field double, and the Mets have second and third and one out. Yet another extra base hit for Nimmo, who's been piling them up lately.
Well, he's getting an opportunity to play, guys, and he's starting to hit lefties too. He's a threat. Although he's come into the game hitting only 154 against left-handers in 26 at-bats. I mean, he is getting it on pretty good now. I'm just loving watching him.
So the Mets with their first scoring chance of the night. And here's Cabrera, who struck out his first time up.
First mound visit, interesting.
So Nimmo has 16 extra base hits for the year, and half of them have come in the last 9 games.
Getting the chance to play every day. He's making the most of his opportunity.
Yeah, and he's gotten better against left-handed pitching the more he plays. Interesting mound visit there. I don't know what that was for.
They're certainly trying to figure out where to play the infield. Scoreless game in the third.
Maybe you can tell your infielders, you get a hot shot, one hopper, pitcher on third, you could take a shot at home.
Well, they're playing most of the way back. And Cabrera goes after a first pitch breaking ball, 0-1. Dribble in the top 5 in the National League in base hits.
3 guys at the top there, all for the Bravos. So they got a nice team to watch.
And the fastball catches the corner, and Quintana gets ahead 0-2. '29-year-old Jose Quintana, one of 20 players from Colombia who have played in the major leagues. Said his hero growing up was Edgar Renteria from the same hometown. In fact, when he first started playing, he was a position player as a teenager. Played first base, center field, didn't start pitching until he was 15.
Well, I don't know if you can tell on the TV, but he was put together, Quintana. 6'1", 6'2", 220, 25 pounds. Strong.
When you're left-handed, your options are limited.
Sorry, Keith.
Oh, I wanted to play shortstop so bad.
Who's limited your options? There's no options limited. Limitless.
1-2. And he misses with a curveball. 2-2.
kind of goose this breaking ball in. Nice block by Contreras.
Tough because it bounced on the plate. It'll skid off the dish.
He's very quick back there. Mets trying to break through in the third, each team with 3 hits. 2-2 coming to Cabrera. And he gets jammed and pops one foul. Contreras back for a look, but that's in the seats. 2 rows deep.
You know, usually when you're in the stretch, a pitcher will have kind of a rhythmic motion where the glove and the hand will all meet together. Quintana's different. He just holds the and just kind of sneaks the ball in there, like trying to be secretive.
3-2. It is unusual.
Yeah, because usually there's a little bit of rhythm you want to get going. There's his numbers.
Last year 11 and 11, 4.15, playing on both sides of Chicago. 3-2 to Cabrera, first base open. Bautista on deck. And as Dribble takes ball 4, changeup from Quintana on 3-2, his second walk of the inning.
That was an interesting choice because, as Gary said before, the last home run that Bautista hit was a 3-run shot off Mr. Quintana. So he did not challenge Cabrera with the 3-2 change.
You see how his walks have gone up. I mean, last year he was 2.9, this year all the way up to 4.6, and now 2 walks in this inning have loaded the bases with 1 out for Bautista, who struck out his first time up. And Quintana goes with the same game plan as last time. He set him up with curveballs and then struck him out with the fastball.
Notice Bautista, after he took that pitch, he lifted his, when he took his stride, he lifted his front shoulder. He's mad at himself for doing that.
Bases loaded, 1 out. And Bautista lays off the curveball. Another stop by Contreras, 1-1.
All of a sudden, Quintana with men on base, that curveball's not even close.
Well, he's trying to pitch in the strike zone and then bounce him, but he's just getting too deep in the count. I mean, at some point, you got to go after somebody. Keep it down and try to get yourself a ground ball in this situation.
Bautista's not only been hitting, he's been very patient. On base percentage over 500 as a Met. Mets have hit 3 grand slams this year. They all came in 1 series against Washington. And a fastball on the corner, 1-2. Michael Conforto waits on deck. Lugo is on third, Nimmo at second, Cabrera at first with 1 out. Bautista down to the count, 1-2. 2-2.
Bautista has a slightly open stance, just insignificantly open, but he's got his face full frontal, both eyes forward.
2-2 coming. On the outside corner, got him looking. Big strikeout for Quintana for the second out.
It's a good pitch. I mean, he just painted his wagon. Starting off, as Keith said, with that curveball for a strike. Then he bounced it. Contreras has been on time blocking the baseball. And then after that, fastball for a strike that he took. Laid off the one inside. And this is just a perfect pitch. To me, it's a perfect pitch. Let's see what it looks like over.
Oh, it's a strike right there.
It's a perfect pitch.
So it's left to Conforto with the bases loaded and 2 out. Michael had a base hit the other way, tried to stretch it into a double and was thrown out by Schwarber in the second. Oh. And Contreras had to battle that pitch to keep it from going to the backstop.
I don't think Contreras was ready. Do you see he was kind of pointed his arm? Well, watch this.
Yeah, he wasn't looking.
You got to give your pitcher a target.
Well, you know what he's doing? He's telling Rizzo that if I get a certain pitch, we'll pick behind Cabrera at first base. He loves to throw the ball.
Well, you got to give your pitcher a target. He's got the bases loaded here. You got a guy that's walked people. 2 in the inning. Oh, look at the fog is kind of gets sitting down a little lower now.
It just gets lower and lower inning by inning.
Be looking for Mr. Hyde soon.
Or Bill Robinson.
There you go.
1-1 coming, and Conforto lays off the curve, and it's 2-1.
Well, he got bit by the fastball away from Conforto, so he's really got a couple options here. Breaking ball, he's not been able to throw for strikes as consistently as he wants. I would counter if I were him with a fastball in.
Well, that's how a lot of people pitch Conforto.
I'm going to stay away.
And he shoots one foul back into the netting, 2-2.
You know, we watched the last few weeks. Devin Mesoraco really sits wherever he wants the ball to be pitched to. Contreras Moore sits right in the middle of the plate and kind of puts his glove where he would like the ball. Not as demonstrative.
This will be Quintana's 28th pitch of the inning. 2-2 to Conforto with the bases full. And it just missed. Full count.
Brian Gorman's doing a good job. The one he called in Bautista was just a pitcher's pitch, and that one was down. Not an easy call, but it was down.
So now the merry-go-round will be in motion. Lugo at third, Nimmo at second, Cabrera at first will all be running. And Conforto chops one slowly. Rizzo grabs it. Quintana covering and just got there in time.
Wow.
Quintana laid off the mound covering first and just nipped Conforto at the bag. We'll see if the Mets challenge the call, but it looked like he got the foot there just in time.
He was there, Gary. That was a very nonchalant toss by Rizzo.
So the Mets bypass an opportunity in the third. We're going to keep it here to honor the veteran of the game.
First Data salutes our veteran of the game.
Thanks to the greatest military force across the globe, America remains the land of the free and the home of the brave. During each Mets home game, we recognize a veteran of the game, and here's our honoree.
Sergeant Jason Quilty of the United States Air Force has served our country for 11 years, including deployments in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom. And here he is, our Mets veteran of the game, New York native, Jason Quilty. Presenting Jason with an American flag that has flown over Citi Field is Mets pitcher Zach Wheeler. First Data salutes those who serve.
First Data and SNY salute the veteran of the game along with those service members who made the ultimate sacrifice in defense of our nation and in the service of the entire military community. Was involved in a controversial play on Monday when the Cubs were in Pittsburgh. A slide with the bases loaded into home plate into Elias Diaz as he was trying to turn a double play. It brought in 2 runs. It was ruled on the field not interference, and on replay not interference. And then Major League Baseball came out the next day and said that the umpires had gotten it wrong and that it should have been interference according to the slide rule.
Yeah, rule.
Now, Gary, we had a discussion about this, and you said it wasn't in the rule. I said it wasn't interference because he was within easy for him. He was only this far inside the line.
Well, my feeling is that the home plate collision rule is written for tag plays at the plate. It's not written for force plays at the plate where a catcher is then subsequently trying to turn a double play. And so the rule that applies should seem to be the same rule as at second base.
That's right.
And if you can touch the base, which certainly Rizzo could touch the plate in that circumstance,
right?
Why is it interference?
Well, you know, the home plate rule, which is what you're saying, Gary, is that if you deviate from a certain path, then you can maybe call that. I think that's how they ruled it. I don't believe that. I think it's more of a play at second. My problem, and I'll try to be real quick, is that Keith and I played in a different time where that was just a natural play that happened all the time. Okay, now you're playing kind of country club baseball where I really want to beat you, but I don't want to hurt you. I don't want you to hurt me.
Conforto can't find it in the fog.
There you go.
And then locates it. All right, well, we'll harken back to a game in the 70s when the Mets were playing the Pirates, and Bill Robinson, playing for Pittsburgh, lost a ball in the fog, and they wound up stopping the game. That's the first time, and we've had a couple of foggy games this year. We've had an outfielder who couldn't see the ball.
You know, I spent the summer playing baseball in Cape Cod, and games would routinely be canceled because of nights like this, because the outfielders can't pick it up. But I was just saying really quickly is that, you know, if that would happen all the time in Keith and our day, all right? So now I think you have more of a country club game where I'm going to play hard to beat you, you can play hard to beat me, but I don't really want to hurt you, and please don't hurt me. So, but what you have is players are being taught by their fathers and others that are my age. So guys that grew up watching the game a certain way, and occasionally when you see a play, very occasionally, like that, it's because everyone's in between. What are we playing, real hard baseball? Or are we just playing, you know, kind of country club style? That's what you got.
But isn't the responsibility also on Diaz to clear and get out of the way so he's not subjected to that?
Yeah, but he did. He tagged, he got the force out and went to throw. Like Ronnie said, it didn't happen all the time, but it happened more than maybe a dozen times in my career. Never called interference. And Major League Baseball now, by stepping in, making a statement, they've made it pretty clear that umpires are going to call that interference.
It's like the play with a guy in first hits into a double play, the ground ball to the second baseman where he used to be able to run over him. That play will never happen again, the way the game is played in today's game. If it did, people would go crazy.
Here's the problem I have is that basically we are making up the rules as we go along.
I totally agree with that.
It's one thing to write a rule, and so they wrote the home plate collision rule, the Buster Posey rule, then they wrote the Ruben Tejada rule after Utley broke his leg for the slides at second base. Okay, so we have codified rules, but there's nothing in the rule that covers that play. Yeah. Now, they say that deviating from the path is what Major League Baseball says the umpire should have called, that they didn't. As Guillorme throws out Contreras for the second out. But you can make the case that he didn't really deviate from his path, that he could reach home plate.
That's right.
Yes. Yes.
That was always the rule, that as long as you could touch the base.
Running inside the line, you're entitled to run inside the line. And it was, to me, that was not interference. And to me, it's just all about protecting the players. There's a lot of investment out there.
It would be very, very interesting if that had been Yadier Molina and not Diaz behind the plate when that call was made.
But there has to be a reason why two sets of umpires, the umpires on the field and the umpires in the replay booth, did not rule that interference, because their reading of the rule was that it wasn't. So Major League Baseball then decided to change the rule on the fly.
Yeah, they were reading the rule as the force play at second base rule that we see all the time, not the home plate collision rule.
Because the home plate collision rule doesn't apply.
Exactly.
There's no collision there.
Exactly.
That's a guy trying to turn a double play, much like a middle infielder would.
You know, Diaz did clear as Baez fouls the ball off his foot. If we can show right at the beginning of when Diaz catches the ball, just to go over fundies, His foot is on behind the plate, back of the plate, when he catches the baseball instead of on the front of the plate, which would have given him, what, a foot more room? I don't know.
Which is all he might have needed, because all
let's watch.
did was clip the back of his heel.
No, we don't.
Yeah, you're right, Ronnie. Very good.
His foot is on the back of the plate. Now, I don't know if it would have given him enough room or not. Maybe that's not even a good point, but it's a fundy thing.
That's, what, 16, 17 inches? It would have made a big difference. 0-2 to Baez with 2 out, but I guess from his standpoint, because catchers are now more protected, it doesn't have to think about that, right?
There, look at his foot way in the back.
It's not even. He's behind the plate almost.
So this is he did not go out of his way. He was in a straight line, and the Posey play. Who was the runner? I can't think of his name. Or the Marlins. Cousins, I felt, went out of his way. Cousins, well, we got the game. The inning's over. Cousins could have slid on the outside of the bag and been safe. He went to the inside,
targeted him,
and that was a change of direction. And I thought that should have been interference.
Third strikeout for Lugo. 4 scoreless innings in his first start of the year. No score at Citi Field. On the Cubs, all fans in attendance will receive a Michael Conforto replica jersey courtesy of Geico. Purchase tickets at Mets.com/tickets. Devin Mesoraco, it's a bullet, and Javi Baez snow cones it for the first out. Hard hit ball. Baez up to the task.
Hanging breaking ball. Mesoraco just ripped it.
He makes fielding the baseball look way too easy.
Best part of watching Baez play is his tag play at second base without looking.
Well, apparently he's left-handed, but plays the game right-handed. So
he has a super tag hand.
Yeah, super tag, exactly.
Bryant will go over to the right side after 1 strike on Bruce. Doesn't mean he can't bunt with 1 strike, does it?
No.
And he's done that successfully before. Might be a perfect time for it. Had a base hit his first time up tonight. And takes the curveball down, a ball and a strike. Well, Clayton Kershaw is making his return for the Dodgers tonight, and now the Cubs go to a different shift with a 1-1 count.
This is just way too much thinking.
So they got Baez out in shallow right field now, and Bryant on the left side. And Bruce pops one up in foul ground, and that'll go out of play. Answer our Verizon trivia question. The last Major League player manager was Pete Rose.
The Cincinnati Kid, right? There we go.
Yep.
Frank Robinson also served as a player manager when
Yes, he
the
did.
Indians.
That was back in the day when the Indians wore the all red uniforms. Remember how ugly they were?
Blood red.
Oh.
You know all about Indians history, being a part of it.
In fact, I think Frank Robinson's first managing game, he was the DH and hit a home run.
I think you're right. Yeah. I think I remember that.
One-two coming to Bruce, and it's too high.
No disrespect to anyone from Cleveland, but I always thought that ballpark name was so appropriate. Mistake by the lake.
Oh.
Or as Oil Can Boyd said, well, that's what happens when you build a ballpark right next to the ocean.
Oil can. A little too many oils.
3-2 to Bruce. Hansel Robles is up in the Mets bullpen, so it could be that Lugo is done after 4 innings and 60 pitches, which is about what Mickey Callaway was hoping to get from him. Lugo certainly doing it as well as he could possibly be asked tonight. Ahmed Rosario waits on deck. And Bruce pops the curveball foul back and out of play. Well, he said all along he wanted to be a starter. He got a chance to start tonight. Now the question is, will he get a chance to continue starting going forward? Or do the Mets want him back in the bullpen? Does Jason Vargas's performance last night change that equation at all?
Well, to me, it changes in this way. Watch the pitch first.
Bruce hits one out to right field, overcomes Hayward, and that's the second out.
With Lugo, you know what you have. If he goes to the bullpen, you have a great weapon. If Vargas goes, what are you going to do with Vargas? Going to put him in the bullpen? He won't give you anything. I don't think as a bullpen guy. In my opinion.
I mean, the Mets still have to get everybody else straight. Make sure Matz is okay. Get Syndergaard back. Noah said today he expects to miss 1 or 2 starts. So, you know, for the moment, both of them will probably make another start.
Sometimes your versatility works against you.
Yeah, that's true. It's like the guy they say is a great pinch hitter, so he can't start because we need his bat off the bench.
Right.
What? Rosario broke his bat and dribbled one out in front of the plate, and Contreras threw him out first time up. And he hits one the other way, snagged nicely by Rizzo, and he hits Quintana on the move just in time to get Rosario, and that retires the side. Beautifully done by the former Gold Glover Anthony Rizzo.
No lollipop throw here with Rosario busting down the line.
And the foot on the bag right before Ahmed got there. 1-2-3 for Quintana. No score after 4.
date night, fun night, Borden's night. Elsie the cow has been to Flushing Meadow, and one night she brought a couple of calves for heroes Tom Seaver and Cleon Jones. Sub-Hero.
Can you imagine today if an ace pitcher picked up a calf on the field and walked him over toward the dugout?
There would be,
I mean, there would be such recriminations. Strained lat muscle.
Someone would be going down.
Oh, wow. That's Seaver. He could do it all.
Not supposed to carry the cow. They're supposed to milk the cow.
Hansel Robles on for the 5th inning. Coming off a good outing in Atlanta in his return from the disabled list.
Yeah, 3 innings, right?
Josh Schwarber leading off the 5th. Struck out against Lugo, who fanned 3 in his 4 innings of work. No runs, 3 hits for Lugo.
You got to watch down on Schwarber. He loves the breaking ball down and in as most lefties, but he likes the ball down. Up is his Achilles heel.
Ian Happ on deck, then the pitcher Quintana. And Schwarber fouls back the changeup, and it's 1-2.
I still think one of the longest home runs I've seen in this ballpark was by this young man.
Two coming, and a bouncer foul. So Schwarber kind of muddling along. Burst on the scene in 2015. Missed most of 2016, in fact, the entire season until the World Series. Then made a memorable cameo as a DH in the World Series against the Indians. And then struggled right from the outset last year when he came back for a full season.
Ended up being sent down to AAA, where they asked him to use more of the middle of the field. Keith, right? And he ended up being an all-or-nothing kind of hitter right now.
He hit 30 home runs last year, but he batted .211. He's got 10 home runs this year, so he's still on that same 30 home run pace. His average a little higher this year.
I always felt with that rookie success he had, that he was walking around like he was Sherman marching through Georgia. Well, he found out real quick it's not that easy.
Popped up. Guillorme trying to get there, so is Mesoraco, and Mesoraco can't quite make the connection. Well, that's about as far as you'll ever see a catcher run for a pop-up. He ran a full 85 feet, but couldn't make the play. And that's the consequence of the shift.
Well, I applaud the hustle of Mesoraco. Guillorme couldn't get there. The pitcher has to know when the shift is on, and he's got to become a part of the play.
Yes, be the fielder.
He's the closest to it.
That's right. And pitchers sometimes get in their own world, just worrying about the pitching and not the full ramifications of the game.
So an extra life for Schwarber, and he draws a walk to lead off in the 5th. So here is Happ, who grounded out his first time up. You look up and down this Cubs lineup today, and you see the consequence of the plan that the Cubs put in place. The lose now to win later strategy.
Yeah.
Ian Happ, 9th overall pick in 15. Schwarber, 4th overall pick in 14. Baez, 9th overall pick in 11. Bryant, 2nd overall pick in 13. Early draft pick after early draft pick after early draft pick, and most of those guys have been exactly what the Cubs hoped they would be.
Well, the same thing happened for the Astros with Carlos Correa and George Springer. They were wrong on a couple of them, the Cubs haven't been wrong on many.
Well, it's interesting because the Cubs and Astros had that year they picked 1-2, and Mark Appel was the pitcher, and Chris Bryant was the hitter, and everybody figured they'd be the top 2 picks. And the Astros had the number 1 pick. They went for Appel, who has not worked out, and the Cubs went for Bryant.
And if the Astros had taken Bryant, then the Cubs would have taken Appel. So you just sometimes don't know.
And Robles strikes out Happ for the first out. That's 58 strikeouts. Make it 60 strikeouts now for Happ in 129 at bats.
Big uppercut. You're going to swing right through that pitch above the belt.
Well, those are the Cubs' numbers, but they have been very much a hot and cold team. Ronnie said it in the open. 8 runs a game in their wins, 2 runs a game in their losses. Quintana pops up the bunt, and Bruce is there to grab it. And that's the second out. And so far tonight, they've been that other Cubs team. But what they've done all along has been the pitching, and that's why they find themselves 6 games over 500.
And they get better as the game goes on. Their bullpen has been incredible, and Mr. Morrow at the end of it has been as good as he was with the Dodgers at the end of the year.
Brandon Morrow, brought in to be the closer, has been great, but they've got half a dozen guys pitching well in that bullpen. They have to put one of them on the DL today. Carl Edwards, a little shoulder problem, so he goes on the DL. Here's Zobrist up for the 3rd time. Zobrist in the 3rd year of the 4-year contract the Cubs signed him to. Of course, the Mets were in competition for Zobrist's services before the Cubs got him.
Everyone wanted Zobrist more than Daniel Murphy, right? They were free agents, I think, the same year.
Yep. Zobrist got more years, more money, older player. Murphy's been the better player. Zobrist cranks one deep right field, down the line, hooking toward the pole, and it's a foul ball. Well up into the second deck, and not fouled by much. And there's the proof it was foul.
Yeah, once you lose sight of it, even for a second, it means it's on the foul side of that pole. Poles aren't as high as the Shea Stadium used to be.
And not as high as they are in some other parks. I was afraid Adrian Johnson was going to lose that ball in the fog. You know, he hasn't always gotten fair foul calls exactly correct.
Come on, give him a break.
Hey. Runner takes off on the dirt ball, and down to second base goes Schwarber. Alert base running by Kyle Schwarber on a pitch in the dirt.
Boy, that was a good read. Didn't go too far away. No, he's in a position. He's on his toes. And when you're ready to go, ball not that far from the catcher, you get a good break, you're going to get it. Good play. Good hustle.
So a runner in scoring position with 2 out. A 2-2 count to Zobrist.
Trying to let Robles know he's going to give a series of signs because the runner now is on second base.
And Zobrist hits one to the gap in right center field, headed back toward the fence, and it's out of here. Ben Zobrist, after hitting a foul home run, hits one out in the gap for his 4th of the year, a 2-run shot. And the Cubs break the ice and lead 2-0.
Wow.
A changeup? You know, something you said it, Gary. Very rarely do you see a hitter hit one foul for a home run, and then in that same at bat, able to hit one over the wall fair.
So Robles surrenders another home run. That's the 6th he's allowed this year in 14 innings of work. He gave up 10 last year in 56 innings of work. Now here's Hayward, is 1 for 2 tonight. So the long ball continues to plague Robles, who returned from the DL with 3 solid innings on Monday night, but the leadoff walk leads to a 2-out 2-run homer for Zobrist, and the Cubs have the lead.
Well, there it is. Ba-boom.
Hayward lines one. Rosario not tall enough to grab it, and Hayward's got his second hit of the night. Struck much better than the first one, which blooped into left. This one a scorcher that rose above the glove of Rosario.
Met fans are not happy. I gotta believe this is directed at Hansel.
Oh, just over the glove of Rosario. Serious hops.
So 2 straight 2-out hits, and that gets Chris Bryant to the plate. Bryant's hit 2 balls hard, double to right, and hit a hard ground ball that Cabrera threw him out on. So after Lugo gave the Mets 4 solid innings, Robles having trouble in the 5th.
Here's the home run right here. Watch the contact. Oh, it's right down the middle. Out in front.
Jerry Blevins to work in the Mets bullpen with Rizzo due up next. Well, the Mets have a 9-man bullpen. They may end up using a healthy chunk of it tonight. Last night, Tim Peterson came in to make his big league debut and gave the Mets 2 solid innings. Out to right center, over comes Conforto to get it, and that retires the side. But Zobrist's 2-run homer provides the first 2 runs in this game. Halfway through, 2-0 Chicago. Advice with live streaming presented by Verizon. Just visit SNY.TV or download the NBC Sports app today for live streaming coverage of every SNY Mets game. Jose Quintana staked to a 2-0 lead, faces Luis Guillorme leading off in the home 5th. Jose Reyes has come out on deck to bat for Hansel Robles. Guillorme tried to bunt his way on his first time, and Quintana threw him out.
Gloved him out.
Right. So Mickey Callaway is going to use one of his 3 bench players in the 5th inning to pinch hit.
I mean, Contreras is you got a lot of these catchers. Real Muto, smaller in size, just a great agility, great athleticism, gets that target nice and low. I used to love throwing to Junior Ortiz, who used to be able to do this. He was taught by Tony Pena. Look how low that target is. That just, you never throw a ball up in the zone when you have a catcher like that.
Benito Santiago.
There you go.
Used to get down low like that. Very limber catcher. Guillorme tops one. In comes Zobrist to get it. 1 out. 6 in a row now retired by Quintana. And now Jose Reyes will bat for Hansel Robles. So Robles out after 1 troubled inning. Mets have Reyes, Gonzalez, and Plawecki on the bench tonight. It should be the last night the Mets go with a 3-man bench, with the rotation getting a little more normal tomorrow with Zach Wheeler going.
Jose really having a rough time of it.
Went 1 for 9 in the series in Atlanta. 18th batter for Quintana, 15 first pitch strikes. Corners in against Reyes, and Jose pops one up. Into foul ground, Baez, 2 out. So fruitless at bats continue to mount for Reyes. And Quintana set down the first 2 with ease here in the 5th, and he'll take on Brandon Nimmo, who has one of the Mets' 3 hits tonight, an opposite field double in the 3rd.
See if he comes inside, changes the program.
Well, the Cubs went out and got a couple of starters in the offseason, Tyler Chadwood and Yu Darvish. Darvish is on the DL right now. Chadwood hasn't pitched particularly well. Neither is Darvish.
I don't think that's going to cut it.
It can cut it if Darvish is Darvish. If he's going to have comments like he thinks the fans don't like him, well, that's nonsense.
I mean, he was even more than that. He said, "I think everybody in Chicago hates me."
It's the silliest thing I've ever heard. I mean,
White Sox fans don't hate him.
That's right.
Yeah, that's 20% of Chicago anyway. 3 straight years in the LCS. Last year they did not hit at all. They hit 156 in that series against the Dodgers.
Dodgers bullpen was perfect in that series.
I just don't know if Darvish is ever going to bounce back from that dreadful, steal a word from you, Gare, from your vocabulary, that dreadful World Series he had. I just don't know if you come back from that.
That word is only in your vocabulary.
Words are for sharing. And Nimmo down on strikes for the 2nd time tonight. Good changeup by Quintana to get him. That's his 5th strikeout of the night, and he's now set down 8 in a row. Shutdown inning for Quintana after getting the lead. 2-0 Cubs after 5. Jerry Blevins on to pitch the 6th inning for New York.
Well, has not been the start to the season, the first third of the season anyway, for Jerry Blevins, and it's going to be interesting unless he turns it around how he's going to be used on this ball club.
Left-handers hitting .333 against Jerry.
Rizzo pops one up. Cabrera with the angle. Bruce never saw it. Cabrera says, "I'll take it," and then Nimmo calls them both off.
That is excellent communication.
I mean, Bruce had no idea where the ball was. Cabrera said, "Don't worry, I got it." And Nimmo, who had the best angle of all, was there.
The ball boy back on the field. So the Mets had 10 people on the field.
Two guys called off. First Bruce by Cabrera, and then Nimmo calls off. That's Drupal. That's nice to see.
By the way, I have to believe, because of the frequency with which he's taking that route, that the ball boy has been told to go in that direction.
I think you're right, but he should not. I don't think he belongs in fair territory.
The problem is on a play like that, there's no place to go.
There is no foul territory, but you see it in San Francisco more because San Francisco has a ball person all the way down the left field line, so you see them on the field all the time.
Half swing and a miss by Contreras, and it's 0-2.
And you can't expect these young men or women to even know kind of where the ball's going to end up. Big league players don't always know where the ball's going to end up.
I mean, they're coming up the line in foul territory. There's no room behind him in foul territory, so the path he took might be the only one he had.
Too bad they couldn't like hop over the fence there and get out of like with the fans real quick, know?
Like a linesman climbing the boards.
Yeah.
Hockey. Can't throw a seating implement into the stands. Frank Francisco found that.
Yeah, I've seen that done before. No, leave the stool there. just jump over.
Javi Baez on deck. Blevins went an inning and 2/3 night before last. Almost got through a second full inning, but then gave up hits to Freeman and Markakis, and it's been the bugaboo for Jerry. He's getting out the guys he's supposed to get out. He's been great against the right-hand hitters, and he strikes out Contreras there for the second out. They're hitting under 100 against him. But the lefties, well, that's where his problem's been.
Well, his fastball's been good enough. That's a changeup, which struck out Contreras. But his bread and butter is his ability to throw a curveball for a strike and then throw the same one for a ball out of the strike zone. He has not had command of that pitch like we've seen him in the past.
Baez struck out twice tonight against Lugo. And Javi takes a fastball for a strike. Hansel Robles worked an inning, gave up 2 runs, 2 hits, a walk, a strikeout, a wild pitch, and the home run to Zobrist that brought in the only 2 runs of this game. That is a major league hack.
Yeah, it is. It's a lift swing.
"13 home runs, 48 strikeouts on the resume of Javi Baez in 2018. So he's on a pace for nearly 40 home runs.
Doesn't walk too much either.
Curveball in the dirt. Yeah, he's now got 171 plate appearances since his last walk. He's drawn 6 walks all year, and 4 of those were intentional. So he's had 2 unintentional walks in a third of a season.
What's interesting with his league-leading 43 RBIs is that he's hitting .210 with runners in scoring position.
That's where 13 home runs pays off. Did a few with men on base. Also has 5 triples to lead the league. Another curveball at his feet, 2-2. Here's your game summary. Good starting pitching on both sides. Seth Lugo, though, could only go 4 in his first start of the year. And it was Robles out of the bullpen who gave up the 2-run homer to Zobrist for the only runs of the night. Meanwhile, Jose Quintana rolling. 83 pitches through 5 for Quintana. Blevins has retired the first 2. And now Baez drills one down the line. He's got an extra base hit into the corner. So a curveball that stayed up for Baez. He has his 10th double of the year. And it comes with 2 out in the 6th.
This one did not fool Baez one bit. He's all over that. Did you see Baez look back?
No, because he hit Mesoraco with the backswing. He hits him right on top of the helmet. That's why he was looking back to like, oh, sorry, I did
good
that.
too.
Oh, full-on shot too. Well, he's got such a huge swing with that one-handed release. It's surprising that doesn't happen more often. I got a question for you guys, because we've seen this more and more, I think, over the last 10 years. Do you think there should be some kind of penalty for a hitter hitting the catcher with his bat to keep them more in check?
I don't think so. I don't know what it would be. You got to have a rule then. You know, sometimes the catchers are too close.
Well, I mean, they penalize the catcher for catcher's interference if his glove touches the player's bat. So, you know, they get a base based on the catcher being too close with his glove. What if you pull the hitter out for hitting the catcher with the bat? Wouldn't that stop it?
You're asking a hitter to change his swing, let go. If you got a hitter up there, let's go with one hand. I think if you're, as a catcher, you got to move back a little bit.
Well, for all that they're trying to protect players with the slide rule and the collision rule, I mean, that is a play that's more likely to result in a concussion than any home plate collision, isn't it?
You're absolutely right, but I don't know how you're going to be able to do that. I mean, it's always was known in the past what hitters had a big backswing, and catchers in the past would back up. I don't know if the catchers today would do that. I think you're 100% right, but after our discussion today, I don't want to add any new rules.
Or give anybody any ideas. Stick to the game, Garrett.
Yes, sir. Schwarber drew a walk in the 5th inning. The walk came after a foul pop-up that fell with the Mets in a shift. Mesoraco got the closest to it but couldn't catch it. Schwarber lines this one to center for a base hit. Around third comes Baez heading home. The throw to the plate by Conforto was too late. Bounces away from Mesoraco. And down to second, and taking a wide turn there is Schwarber. And it's 3-0 Chicago.
Again, the breaking ball. The left-handers are all over it. Schwarber. Baez, the right-hander, hit it, and Schwarber hit one.
Well, the breaking ball is just not fooling anybody right now. That's been the nemesis for Jerry, and there's an airmail right there. Over the cutoff man, that'll be an E8. Well, watch Baez. Doesn't know how many outs there are. What's he doing? There's 2 outs. You got a bust.
My bad. After hitting Mesoraco with the bat.
Would have been his double bat if he didn't score on that.
So it's an RBI single for Schwarber. Takes second on the air charge to Conforto. And now Ian Happ takes a curveball for a strike. So the Mets bullpen, which struggled so mightily throughout that road trip, handed a scoreless game after Lugo went 4 innings as a starter tonight, and both Robles and Blevins getting touched up.
Well, low ball hitter Schwarber stays in on the breaking ball, but it's down, but it's not away enough. And it just looked like Schwarber had a bead on it.
Albert Almora on deck to pinch hit for the Cubs. A little surprising. Quintana has looked like he's been fully in charge. Just 83 pitches in 5 innings. Out to right center. Over comes Conforto to call, and that retires the side. But the Cubs had a run. A couple of 2-out hits. Schwarber drives in Baez. 3-0 Chicago in the 6th. Here's your cricket smile moment of the game. And of course, it's the happiest man in baseball. He can smile.
He has fun.
Well, Jose Quintana's still out there. Even though they had a hitter on deck potentially to bat for him, they do have warm-up action in the bullpen. As Asdrubal Cabrera leads off the home sixth and pops one up in foul ground. Rizzo watches it sail out of play. 0-1. Cabrera tonight has struck out and walked 0 for 1.
Third time through the order has become very important for 30 big league clubs.
Well, and the numbers bear it out for Quintana as you look at Cabrera's baseball card. Quintana's given up a 209 batting average first 2 times through the batting order. From the third time on, the batting average against him is 400.
200-point jump.
And Cabrera rolls one out for Baez to handle. 1 out. That's 9 in a row set down big Quintana, who looks like he's just getting started.
You know, we see more and more pitchers have those kinds of numbers, and the reason I think that it's pervasive around baseball is that pitchers, through scouting reports, have one way of getting hitters out, and they continue to pitch that hitter the same way for 2 hours, and then they get taken out of the game. You know, there used to be a time that you'd hold back a pitch against a real good hitter if no one was on base, get him out a different way or try to, and then hold that pitch like as a trump card in case he came up later with guys on base. And then he'd see it for the first time in 3 at-bats, and it would surprise him.
You saw the sidearmer Steve Cishek up in the Cubs bullpen. Left-hander Buddy Baumann up in the Mets pen. Bautista's 0 for 2 tonight, struck out both times against Quintana. And Bautista chases a high fastball, and it's 1-2. Well, Mickey Callaway said something tonight, talking about Lugo making the transition back to starting, and he said, there's no transition. He said, I've told our starters all year, I want you to use your best stuff every inning. And that is so antithetical to the way starting pitchers used to be instructed.
Even antithetical to, you know, people in the organization who want their starting pitchers to go deeper into games, or at least through 6.
Yeah, it was an interesting juxtaposition today. Sandy Alderson and Mickey Callaway had back-to-back press conferences, and in the first one, Sandy bemoaned the fact that the starters weren't going deep into games, and in the second one, Mickey Callaway said, I want my starters to use their best stuff every inning. I don't care how long they last. So it's almost as though one hand doesn't really know what the other hand wants. Bautista pops one up. Baez trailing out, Schwarber coming in, and it's Baez to make the catch. 2 out.
Just all relative, you know. If you expect your pitcher to go deep into the game, when Jacob deGrom pitches a game, you expect him to go 7, 8, maybe the rare occasion go 9 innings, right? So if you expect him to go 8, and he gives you a 6+, 6 2/3, then you're happy with that. That's a deep start. But if you have other pitchers on the staff, and you only expect them to get 15 or 18 outs, and they only give you 4 innings, what did you expect? You know, on their bad day, they're not going to go 5 or 6 innings. So you've set the bar so low, so when they have a bad day, you're going into the bullpen early and often.
That's why you have 9 relievers.
That's right. There you go.
36% of your active roster.
36%.
Conforto's 1 for 2 tonight. And Quintana, for a rare time, is behind in the count. Left-hander from Colombia, who began his professional career in the Mets organization. Then he tested positive for illegal substances, and the Mets released him. He was signed by the Yankees. They released him. Eventually hooked up with the White Sox, and that's where his career began to thrive.
And the White Sox thought enough of him to sign him to kind of a major league deal, you know, not just a simple minor league free agent deal. And he was their best pitcher. So he was one of their best pitchers for his time there.
Very much under the radar.
Yep.
Jams Conforto, and it's 2-2. Quintana, an all-star in 2016, took a little step back last year. And very inconsistent this year, but this has been one of his good nights. And Conforto strikes out on the curveball, side retired. 11 in a row set down by Quintana, who picks up his 6th strikeout. Good night for the Cubs lefty. We go to the 7th, 3-0 Chicago.
In the clubhouse?
No. I mean, I try, but, you know, you got to go out there and play. I've never been a huge rah-rah person or, you know, a speech type person. So, you know, I help out when I can. But I think real leaders, they go out there and lead by example, and that's grinding it out every day, and that's, you know, going out there and going through kind of some of the tough stretches that we've had and, you know, being there for some of the guys when they don't have great games and, you know, trying to keep that positive attitude. So I think that's what leadership's all about, and you just can't do that when you're on the sideline.
It's been more than 2 years since David Wright played in a Major League Baseball game. He was out on the field today doing some light throwing. The start of his attempt to resurrect his career.
Well, David's spot on. And you see Buddy Bauman, 3rd time up with the Mets. Buddy had more strikeouts than innings pitched down in AAA. But David's so right. I mean, I can't talk as a player. You know, throwing down every day is a big way to lead. But I knew that I was a great example for some of the young pitchers on Oakland till I couldn't get anybody out. And then I was no example.
Albert Almora pinch hitting. He's having a great start to his season, facing Bauman, who makes his 3rd appearance of the year, his 2nd for the Mets. First one came from the Padres. Mets picked him up from San Diego. And he walks Almora to start the 7th. Let's check in with the studio. Eamon McEnany has another game break. Kershaw went 5 innings in his return from the disabled list. Didn't crack 90 miles an hour. Coming back from what was it, a triceps?
Yeah, triceps tendonitis, something like that.
Ben Zobrist hit the 2-run homer that broke the scoreless tie in this game off Hansel Robles in the 5th. 2 for 3 on the night. Turning around about right-handed against Bauman. Last night, we had 2 different pitchers making their first start back from Tommy John surgery. Alex Reyes, the kid from Elizabeth, New Jersey,
That's right.
Cardinals. He was good for his
4 strong innings.
But then he went back on the DL today with a lat strain. And then there was Nate Eovaldi coming back from his second Tommy John surgery. Driven to the gap in right center, and that's going to beat Nimmo and go back to the wall. Almora flying to third. He'll be held up there. Zobrist stops at second with his 3rd hit of the night. Pretty sure that Almora could have scored fairly easily.
No outs.
But Brian Butterfield, the third base coach, held him up.
You send him here, the runner can score. If you throw him out at the plate, Zobrist will advance to third too. I thought he should have sent him. Almora, little late read. Now he finally kicks it into gear.
Maybe that's why he held him. He didn't get his full effort there around the bases.
So the Cubs with a chance to break this game open with Jason Hayward at the plate. He's 2 for 3 tonight. His 3rd straight multiple hit game. That's at the infield back. They're already down 3-0. It's the 7th inning.
Lefty-lefty matchup. That almost never happens.
I'm stunned that they're sacrificing the run here. They're letting the run come home.
I mean,
it's late.
You've got 9 outs to go against the Cubs bullpen, which is among the best in baseball. Good slider by Bauman, and it's 1-1. Anyway, Nate Eovaldi came back last night for Tampa Bay, former Yankee. 6 no-hit innings in his first start back from Tommy John surgery.
They said when he was rehabbing some of his appearances, he had 100 miles an hour in the gun, so still throwing hard.
So they limited him to 70 pitches, took him out with a no-hitter intact.
Tampa Bay Rays got 3 good starts in a row from Chris Archer, Blake Snell, and Eovaldi.
Now they actually have 3 starters on their roster. They had only 2. The bullpenningest team in baseball.
Sergio Romo's going after Mike Marshall's record.
Either that or Iron Man McGinnity's record.
There you go.
What is the record for most starts in the season?
I don't know. Wilbur Wood?
I mean, Wilbur Wood once started both games of a doubleheader.
Yes,
the White
he did.
Sox. The left-handed knuckleballer.
Phil Niekro used to start 40 games all the time consistently.
Bauman behind on Hayward, 3-1 with Chris Bryant on deck. Nobody out in the inning.
Hayward's swing looks a little better this year, seeing it live now. I know he's batting, what, 260 or so?
256 coming in, 2 hits. He's over 260 now.
Just looks like he's got a little more athleticism in it instead of robotic, stiff.
Well, he used to stride almost towards the shortstop and lock himself up.
He hooks that on the ground. That'll bring in a run. Cabrera throws out Hayward. Almora comes in to score to make it 4-0. So the Mets play the infield back, concede the run, and the Cubs happily take it, and Zobrist moves over to third.
Is that successful if you concede the run and it works?
Well, not only did it not work, but now you've given them a chance to score another run. Play the infield in there.
Yeah.
Wow.
You got 1 out in second and third, and then you can walk Bryant and figure out what to do from there. So now you're down 4 runs. Bryant at the plate. Now they bring the infield in, and he takes up and in for ball 1.
Look at the spacing between Rosario and the third baseman Guillorme. I mean, that spacing's too close.
Now the Mets are intentionally walking Bryant to set up the double play possibility.
Okay.
So first and third now with 1 out, and Rizzo coming up. Rizzo tonight is 0 for 3. 3 balls in the air, and obviously the Mets would love to see him hit the ball on the ground and have a chance to turn 2. Zobrist at third, Bryant at first with 1 out. So we've done a little research.
Yeah.
The all-time record for most games started in a season is 75, but that was in 1879.
Okay, modern day. Come on.
Well, but modern day is since 1900.
Yeah.
And the record is 51. That was Jack Chesbro with
Chesbro.
Yankees 1904. Now, the most starts without a relief appearance is 49. Wilbur Wood had 49 starts without a relief appearance in 1972. Phil Niekro had 44. That's the National League record for most starts without a relief appearance. 0-2 now to Rizzo. Wilson Contreras, the on-deck batter. Mets have a right-hander up in the bullpen. And that is Scott Copeland, who arrived yesterday. In there for a call strike 3. Baumann paints the inside corner and gets Rizzo for the second out.
That was a good pitch by Copeland. A good pitch by Baumann. Right on the knees.
I'm with you, Rodney. There are so many new pitchers on this staff. It's hard to keep them all.
Sorry about that. Yeah. You went Copeland. I went right with you.
I went to introduce myself to Tim Peterson yesterday.
Yeah.
And I went up to Scott Copeland thinking he was Tim Peterson.
Did you play it off or just?
No, I figured it out right before I was about
Very
to
good.
misidentify.
Wait till I call Scott Aaron.
that might happen too. Great American Songbook. Well, Baumann with a chance to get through this inning. If he can get through Contreras, who's 0 for 3 tonight. And now it's 2-0. George Charles Baumann.
George Charles.
Better known as Buddy.
Well, didn't the other Buddy, the Mets had Buddy Carlisle, that was really his name, wasn't it?
I believe you're correct.
Yeah.
He was a bulldog.
He was. That one year.
Gave the Mets some really good outings that year.
I mean, but like his career was over, and he was in AAA because, I forget the story, Kevin told it. He just wanted, he just wanted to have one more year where he enjoyed playing and didn't feel the pressures. And then he ended up being on the Mets that year and pitched in a lot of pressurized situations.
2014, I think.
Yeah.
Taken high by Contreras, and it's 3-1. Javi Baez on deck. Yeah, that's too high, ball 4, and that'll load the bases. So the third walk of the inning issued by Baumann. And now the Cubs have a chance to turn this game into a rout with Javi Baez coming up. Mickey Callaway is coming out. And Scott Copeland is now going to make his Mets debut. So Baumann will exit after 2/3 of an inning. A run home here in the 7th. It's 4-0 Chicago. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon. We'll be right back to Citi Field. And Scott Copeland, the 30-year-old journeyman, will make his Mets debut with the bases loaded and 2 out.
Probably didn't see this happening, and it happened pretty quickly here for Scott. As it usually is, comes in with the bases loaded.
Copeland, who pitched for Toronto back in 2015, including a start against the Mets up at Rogers Center, comes in to face Javi Baez, who shoots one foul. After he pitched for Toronto, he wound up pitching in Korea the following year. He was in the Miami organization last year. He sat on the free agent shelf all this winter, finally signed with the Somerset Patriots of the Atlantic League at the end of March. But before their season began, the Mets showed interest and signed him in the middle of April, and here he is pitching in the big leagues again.
And guys, Scott Copeland told me that before he signed with Somerset, he thought about just giving up on baseball, but his wife said, you know what, you live only one time, give it one more shot, one more year, and if you don't get signed by an organization after that, then you can give it up. So who would have known that when he signed with Somerset, just a couple months later, he'd be in the big leagues again.
Baez chases one out of the strike zone, and on 3 pitches, Copeland has a strikeout, his first batter with the Mets, and he leaves them loaded. Cubs settle for 1, 4-0 at the 7th inning stretch.
Okay.
Discuss the latest on Noah Syndergaard's finger injury and see a light at the end of the tunnel with Michael Conforto at the plate. On the latest Shay Anything podcast, search Shay Anything and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. Changes for the Cubs. Ian Happ moves from center field to left field. Albert Almora, who pinch hit, stays in center. And the former Marlin sidearmer Steve Cishek is on to pitch.
Doug and Andy must think they're like Kanye and Drake, I guess, who just go by the first name. Cishek has been really good to the opponent's batting average, 174, only 8 hits allowed.
Either that or Gary, Keith, and Ron.
Oh, yeah. That's a regional level, Gary.
Here's Mesoraco, who takes the slider for a strike. Mesoraco is grounded to third and lined out to short, 0 for 2. Cishek now 31 years old. Had that couple of years stretch with the Marlins in 13 and 14 when he saved 34 in 39 games.
That's always hit him well, though, even when he was pitching at his best with the Fish.
Yes.
Went to Seattle, where he saved 25 games 2 years ago. Bounced between Seattle and Tampa Bay last year. He's had a good year so far for the Cubs. He throws a fastball right by Mesoraco for the first out. That's 12 straight Mets who have been retired.
New pitching coach for the Cubs this year, Jim Hickey, who used to be the pitching coach of Joe Madden in Tampa Bay. I mean, it's such an unusual, I want to say, Ichabod Crane delivery.
And he throws the ball from about 45 feet away.
Well, he's a right-handed specialist. Hitting 117 right-handers against him. Left-handers hitting over 300.
Here's Jay Bruce, who has singled to left center and flied to right, 1 for 2. And goes after that first pitch slider, 0-1. So Jose Quintana threw 97 pitches over 6 innings, no runs, 3 hits, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. So he's now made, Quintana, 11 starts this year. In 5 of the 11, he's given up no earned runs. In the other 6, he's had an ERA of almost 9. Talk about the little girl with the curl.
Right.
You know, it's reminiscent of, remember Kevin Gross's career?
Yeah, of
He
course.
was either great or terrible.
Had a great curveball.
He had 4 different pitches. He was.
I just thought he forgot about his fastball.
Yeah.
Got too cute with all of his secondary pitches.
Yeah, he liked his breaking ball. He's got a no-hitter, right, for the Dodgers when he moved over there?
So now they've got the shortstop on the right side and the second baseman on the left side. That's a novel wrinkle.
Yeah.
Of course, Zobrist has played everywhere in his career, and so does Baez.
Well, the guy throwing mostly sliders. You think Bruce is going to be more apt to pull?
That he almost hit one right over the third baseman.
You know, it's interesting watching Cishek, just these first 2 hitters. I don't think I ever saw him with the Miami Marlins throw a ball over the knees. And he's thrown 2 pitches, including the strikeout of Mesoraco, up in the strike zone.
That's the trend, right?
Yep.
And he throws one upstairs to get Bruce as well. So back-to-back strikeouts for Cishek with that high fastball. And there are 2 out. That is 13 straight Mets who've been retired with only 1 ball hit out of the infield. It's the way the game is evolving, right? Hitters want to lift. Pitchers are throwing the pitches they can't lift. Here's Rosario taking a slider for a strike.
Gary, you mentioned earlier the Cubs had so much success the last 3 seasons, but they changed a couple of their coaches. Jim Hickey, that I mentioned before, as their pitching coaching. One of our favorites, well, one of my favorites, Keith, Chili Davis, is now their hitting coach.
Yes.
Well, this was the ballet after Bruce's at bat ended and Rosario's began. How do they know where to go? Well, they're going back to their normal position.
Yes.
Dude, I tell you what, it's a long season, Skip. You got to stop that.
Well, you don't have to really move. You're the first baseman. You can kind of stay.
Although Rizzo, you know, on some of those bunt plays, right? Then they move him to the side of the mound with a second baseman's glove. Fly ball out to right. And Hayward is there. And that retires the side. Mets don't have much going on offensively tonight. That's 14 straight who have been retired. After 7, 4-0 Cubs. official bourbon of the New York Mets. Scott Copeland, who struck out his only batter in the 7th, stays on for the 8th to face the pinch hitter Tommy La Stella, who's just been tearing it up as a pinch hitter this year. And he pulls one up the middle, a base hit. So La Stella continues to produce as a pinch hitter. He is now 11 for 25 as a pinch hitter. 11 pinch hits in a third of a season.
Wow.
That could threaten a record. People's United Bank brings you tonight's starting pitchers. Seth Lugo was terrific, but only for 4 innings in his first start of the year. Jose Quintana just as terrific, but for 6 innings. And the Mets bullpen has yielded runs in each of the last 3 innings. Robles, Blevins, and Baumann.
How many times a guy has retired 11 straight and didn't make the next inning? It's hard to do.
So including tonight and the 4 runs the Mets bullpen has allowed, over the last 11 games, the bullpen has thrown 43 in the 3rd innings, which is a lot of innings in 4 games, and given up 37 runs, 32 earned, for a 6.65 ERA. So you'd have to say that the Mets are rather fortunate to have gone 3-5 on that road trip. Although you can look at it the other way around, they had leads in almost every game. They could have been 7-1.
Yeah. No. Could have been.
Ian Happ is 0 for 3 tonight. Grounded out, struck out, flied out, and he strikes out, or he just got a piece of that out of the glove of Mesoraco.
Boy, Happ's really got a swing that I don't see how he's going to have much success. I know he's got 8 home runs. Maybe he's in a slump.
He did some record things for the Cubs franchise as a switch hitting rookie last year.
Watch.
And he goes down swinging on the slider. So Copeland has his 2nd strikeout. SNY Super Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. A different look to the Super Slow Mo. New front end.
What does that mean?
Well, it's like, it's Mercedes. It's like a grill.
Oh, nice.
Here's Almora up for the 2nd time. Almora walked and scored in the 7th against Baumann, who went 2/3 of an inning, allowed a run on a hit, 3 walks. Robles went an inning, gave up 2 runs. Blevins went an inning, gave up a run. Baumann 2/3 of an inning, gave up a run. Copeland's faced 3 batters, struck out 2 of the 3, and he's shown a good breaking ball.
Yeah, 2 different breaking balls, hard slider and that a little bit of a slurve or curve.
Scott Copeland, who grew up in Texas, played his college baseball at the University of Southern Mississippi in Hattiesburg.
Hattiesburg.
USM, you know, the Golden Eagles.
Know the college nicknames. You and Keith are great at that.
Good football program.
Toward the line comes Bautista. Nice reaching backhand catch. Boy, he's looked good in the outfield. 2 out. 37 years old and still moving.
Very nice.
Ball was hooking away from him.
Well, Ben Zobrist tonight has a single, double, and home run. He's got 1 triple this year. 42 triples in his major league career. No Cub has hit for the cycle in 25 years, since Mark Grace did it in 1993.
Grace.
1-1 to Zobrist.
Well, it's very peculiar. Watch the way. Look at his shoulder tucked under his chin. It's very bunched up, it looks like. So there's a little unorthodox stance.
Has been the year of the triple for the Cubs so far, though. 19 so far.
Baez has 5. Contreras has 4. Do you think, Keith, maybe he does that to keep his shoulder in?
Garrett, I don't know. Notice how his hands aren't back. They're right on about where his O in Chicago is. It's a little above. So he's got to, when he gets started, he has to push his hands back towards the catcher, I would think. It's very peculiar. So take a look at the take back. He goes up. Okay, he's already back though, so he does already get it back. But still, that stance is out of the ordinary, to say the least.
Three and 2 to Zobrist. Listella will be in motion with 2 out. And he fouls it off.
Well, here's the home run that Zobrist hit off Robles. Look at the head on the ball. Not much of a follow through.
And he yanks that one foul.
It's just one of those at bats. If he hits one in the gap, he runs until he's tagged out.
The Eric Valent play.
Yes.
Eric Valent hit for the cycle in Montreal, needed the triple, and I think it was a 10-0 game at the time, and he hit one to right. You know, Vladimir Guerrero's playing out there, so you figure you stop at second. He just kept going, and the throw was a little wide, and he got his triple and got the cycle. Zobrist gets ahead of one. Zobrist, before he hit the home run in the 5th inning, hit a foul home run. He just hit one of the upper deck down the right field side. Is that the setup for the triple?
Oh.
No triple there. Cabrera throws him out. And Scott Copeland's gotten 4 outs without surrendering a run. Nicely done. 4-0 Cubs.
inspiration for tonight's show? Join us for Geico Sports Night right after Mets postgame.
We go to the bottom of the 8th inning. 4 defensive changes for the Cubs. Javi Baez moves from shortstop to second base. Addison Russell comes into play shortstop. Ben Zobrist moves from second base to left field. And the 35-year-old lefty Brian Dunsing is on to pitch.
Well, Dunsing had a strong 2017 for these Cubbies, and in January signed a 2-year contract with them.
Started out his career as a starting pitcher with the Twins. Now in his second year with the Cubs. Luis Guillorme leads off. Mets haven't had a base runner since the 3rd. When they loaded the bases with 1 out, Jose Quintana got out of that jam. And 14 straight Mets have now been retired. Guillorme 0 for 2 tonight. He takes a curveball strike from Dunsing, 1-1. Adrian Gonzalez has come out on deck to pinch hit for the Mets, who have just Gonzalez and Kevin Plawecki left on the bench. And that curveball bends in for a strike, and it's 1-2. Guillorme fouls off the fastball. We were talking about how good the Cubs bullpen has been this year. The Cubs have 6 relievers who've thrown the most innings for them this year, and all 6 of them have an ERA under 3. Just to put that in perspective, no team has had a season where their 6 most used relievers have had a sub 3 ERA since the Pittsburgh Pirates of 1975, 43 years ago.
That would have been to Colby, Grant Jackson.
Broken bat grounder. Addison Russell just into the game, throws out Guillorme.
Sudden Sam McDowell. Gary, we were talking about that last night.
Sam McDowell, I completely forgot that he pitched for the Pirates. Of course, he was the great strikeout pitcher for the Indians in the 60s. Here's Gonzalez to pinch hit. So that Pirate bullpen in 75, the 6 guys were Dave Justy.
Oh, yes. Left-hander?
Righty, palm ball.
Oh, Ramon Hernandez, the lefty.
Left-handed specialist.
Larry Demery.
Okay, right-hander, middle relief.
Kent DeColvey, Bob Moose, and Sam McDowell.
So Grant Jackson was not there then. That's right. Grant Jackson came later. Grant Jackson, I think, was with Baltimore back then.
Well, the Mets have seen all the best bullpens in the National League in these last couple of weeks. The Brewers, the Diamondbacks, and now the Cubs.
You only named 6 relievers there, Gary.
Yeah.
Who was the other 3?
I'm shocked that they had 6 relievers in 1975. I mean, in those days, a lot of teams went with 10-man pitching staffs the whole year.
Justy was their closer, and a very all-star closer. Jacoby was just coming up, and he was their 7-8 guy.
Gonzalez drives one to right, but right at Hayward, and that's the second out. You saw Gerson Bautista up in the Mets bullpen. He may pitch tonight on his birthday. Gerson is 23 tonight. Happy birthday. Hope it goes better for you than Steven Matz's birthday went for him.
So the Mats thing, since you mentioned Steven, he was felt 100% today. He played catch.
That's what we were told. He felt 100%, played catch. If all goes well, he'll throw a light side session tomorrow and take his start on Sunday. Which is great news, of course. Here's Nimmo. So that's now 16 straight Mets who've been retired. Nimmo has the last hit for New York, an opposite field double back in the 3rd. Jose Quintana, 6 scoreless innings. Steve Cishek, a 1-2-3 7th. And now Brian Dunsing's retired his first 2 in the 8th. Meanwhile, the other pickle finger of fate, the one belonging to Noah Syndergaard. Noah said he's feeling better as well. Just going to take it slow. Hopefully miss one start, maybe two. Nimmo drives one deep down the right field line. Foul.
Talk about not giving up at bats, right? Nimmo only has one speed.
It's 4-0.
No, I'm not saying he's into it all the time.
He's a go-getter. Right? He's all out.
Not quite as murky as it was earlier in the night, but still a patina of fog enveloping Citi Field. And the curveball down from Dunsing, 2-2. There was a point in this game where Michael Conforto lost the ball in the fog before locating it in time to catch it. Not quite that murky now. Nimmo cracks one out to center field deep. Back goes Almora near the wall. It's out of here. Brandon Nimmo gets the Mets on the board. His second extra base hit of the night, his 6th home run of the season. Nimmo piling up the extra base hits over the last 10 days. And he drives one out of the ballpark to get the Mets on the board. It's now 4-1.
Impressive. Boy, oh boy. He just gets better and better.
Second person in this game, Zobrist and now Nimmo, who hit a home run foul and then kept one fair.
You might see that once in a season. We've seen it twice in a night. That Mets home run means Citi will donate enough for No Kid Hungry to provide 20,000 meals to kids in need. Pitching change for the Cubs, 4-1 Chicago in the 8th. We'll be right back. Pedro Strop in to pitch to Asdrubal Cabrera, who pops up the first pitch he sees. Russell squeezes it. Strop throws one pitch and gets his man. Mets got on the board on Nimmo's home run, but no more. 4-1 Chicago going to the 9th. baseball activity as our panel of insiders breaks down the latest Mets and Yankees news on Baseball Night in New York, presented by Tri-State Cadillac Dealers tomorrow at 6, only on SNY. Birthday boy Gerson Bautista will pitch the 9th inning for New York.
Bautista, of course, gave up that home run to Camargo in Atlanta. 23 years young.
This is now his 3rd big league appearance, and he breaks Jason Hayward's bat with his first pitch at 98 miles an hour. Well, those are the pitchers. The reliever turned starter did just fine. The relievers not so fine. The starter turned reliever, Scott Copeland, did fine.
He was my pick to click, Copeland, before the game.
Got fantasy points?
Yeah. No, you got to pay more attention to that now.
No, I don't. Hayward's 2 for 4, and he flies this one deep to right center. Back in the gap, Nimmo onto the warning track with Conforto, who takes charge and makes the catch, and that's nice to see. After a couple of botched balls in the gap on the last road trip, this time the communication was solid, and Conforto made the play.
Center fielder is the chief of police out there.
I would just like to see when one person calls another person off and the other one guy bails, you got to like hustle out of the area. You know, you don't want to be any place close.
Baby steps, Ron.
Oh.
Here's Chris Bryant. I think the bigger issue is that Michael Conforto is very new to the whole idea of being the center fielder and being the alpha dog.
Okay, yeah, all right. Because I've seen some outfielders on other big league teams, when they're called off, they'll run in front of the fielder. Like, what are you doing? Bautista with a little cutter there. I haven't seen that pitch yet.
Bryant doubled to right back in the first. Since then, he's grounded out, flied out, and been intentionally walked. I would tell you who's up in the bullpen for the Cubs, but there's too much fog.
Let's see if we can figure it out just by his pitching
it's Brandon
style.
Morrow because he's the closer. Oh, there's Morrow. And they've got the left-hander Randy Rosario up as well. Up the middle, and Bryant's got his 2nd hit of the night.
On the ground.
That means he failed.
News flash.
The process failed. Well, you know, he was the first guy, right? Now everybody wants to hit the ball in the air.
Yeah.
But he was the first guy that we heard say definitively, my goal every night is to hit 4 balls in the air.
Yes.
4 fly balls.
Yep.
And it's not that long ago. What are you talking, 3-4 years ago?
Well, Joe Madden came out in spring training this year and said because of the proclivity of pitchers to throw that high fastball, if you're trying to hit the ball in the air, you're behind the curve already. That was an interesting statement.
Rizzo drives a base hit into right field. Bryant will go first to third. So the Brizzo Corporation with back-to-back base hits.
Brizzo.
It's like a thing.
Like a Brizzo bromance? Is that what you're saying?
No, they've got some kind of...
like a branding?
Yeah. It's all about the branding, Ronnie.
But they're national, Gary, not regional.
First, 3rd, and 1 out. And now Wilson Contreras, who's 0 for 3 and a walk. Braves and Nationals in their first place battle in Atlanta. First of 4 in that series. There's a fly ball out to right. Bryant tagging at third. Nimmo makes the catch. Bryant trots in to score, and it's 5-1 Chicago. So just like that, 3 straight pitches, single sacrifice fly, and the Cubs add another run against the Mets bullpen to rebuild their 4-run lead.
They're just methodically slicing and dicing.
So the Mets have used 5 relievers tonight, and 4 of the 5 have been scored upon. And now here's Javi Baez with 2 out. Baez 1 for 4, doubled and scored a run in the 6th, struck out his other 3 at bats. Anyway, the Nats passed the Braves for first place last night, and they're starting a 4-game series in Atlanta as that one sails right by Mesoraco like there was a hole in his mitt. And down to second base goes Rizzo on the pass ball. So they're in the bottom of the 8th tonight. The Braves leading the Nationals 4-2. Trying to reclaim first place for the night.
So there's 4 teams in that division that have been in first place then.
This month.
Yeah.
In the month of May, everybody but Miami has been in first place. That's right.
That's crazy.
Wow, look at Atlanta.
Good stop by Mesoraco that time, and it's 2-0 to Baez. Gerson Bautista will tell his grandkids, "I'll never forget the day I turned 23 and pitched in the fog." Another one gets away from Mesoraco, who's having trouble handling that 99-mile-an-hour fastball. Remember, it's Baez who's at the plate, who smacked Mesoraco with his follow-through when he doubled back in the 6th inning. A major hack at a 3-0 fastball.
Well, I can see why Baez has not hit in the clutch. He's a guy that can be pitched to.
I mean, is there any reason to overswing like that?
He's not contained.
Just trying to hit a homer.
In the last of the 9th, the Mets will have Bautista, Conforto, and Mesoraco. The other Bautista, Gerson, deals 3-2 to Baez, and that one goes to the backstop, ball 4. And I'm wondering if there's something wrong with Mesoraco after getting whacked in the head. That's 3 pitches in this inning he hasn't caught.
This one ran big time.
And Baez walks, Gary.
That is a major story. Baez had gone 173 straight plate appearances without drawing a walk. It's only the 3rd unintentional walk he's drawn this season. They called that last one a wild pitch or a pass ball.
I think it's a wild pitch. I don't know.
Well, it moved Rizzo to 3rd. Addison Russell up for the first time.
I thought you play 9. You got to go 9 hard.
I don't know what they called it. I would call it a wild pitch.
So I'm going to put it in my book as a wild pitch, Keith, because, you know, you're as good as any official scorer.
Yes.
Don't you think that was a wild pitch, Gary?
Yes, I do.
You're also an influencer. You could influence the official score.
Have you reached the level of influencer yet?
No.
Like a Taylor Swift?
Well, I just got the Q&A app. Wait till I drop that bomb out there. All right. See ya. Drive safe.
You're like
now you're like the maitre d'.
He's going to drop that Q&A.
We have confirmed, by the way, it was a wild pitch. And Keith wins again.
Was a wild pitch?
He said he's going to drop the Q&A. He's going to be an influencer. I really feel like we're the cream and he's Eric Clapton as we're moving along here.
Oh, okay, very good, Ron. What are you, Jack Bruce or Ginger Baker?
I would hope Jack Bruce.
Russell down on strikes. We go to the bottom of the 9th, 5-1 Chicago. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. Pedro Strop got the last out in the 8th on one pitch. He'll stay in to face Jose Bautista leading off in the 9th. And he rips one right into the glove of Chris Bryant. That's 2 pitches Strop has thrown, and he's gotten 2 outs. Let's go back to the 5th inning. It was a scoreless game with Kyle Schwarber at the plate.
Well, Schwarber pops up here. Big shift. I feel like I'm repeating myself. Excellent attempt by Mesoraco. What follows? Ball 4. That would have been his 3rd out of the inning. And then, boom, it's 2-0, and the Cubs never look back.
Ben Zobrist, the 2-run homer. Cubs have added single runs in the 6th, 7th, and 9th. Mets got a home run from Nimmo in the 8th for their only offense tonight. Michael Conforto's 1 for 3. But the one hit, he tried to stretch into a double, and Schwarber threw him out by about 20 feet. So it has not been a good night for the Mets on any front, except for the start that Seth Lugo made tonight, 4 scoreless innings, and the continuing exploits of Brandon Nimmo. A double and a home run tonight for Nimmo. Pedro Strop trying to finish this game off for Chicago. And this would be a save situation for him. It was 4-1 when he came in with 2 out in the 8th.
It is Strop, right? It's not Strop. Just want to clarify that.
It's Strop. It's been Strop for ever 10 years that he's been in the big leagues.
Okay. I thought he was announced as Strop, but I know it's Strop.
Looking for his first save since 2015. He's got only 9 saves in his 10-year career.
Always been a setup person, right?
And there's ball 4, and Conforto's on with a 1-out walk. Game 2 of this 4-game series tomorrow night. Zach Wheeler takes the mound for the Mets for the first time as a 28-year-old. Tyler Chatwood goes for the Cubs. Our coverage begins at 6:30 tomorrow night right here on SNY, and hopefully it'll be a little less murky tomorrow night.
I'm curious how the drive's going to be going back home, Gare.
Just run your
how foggy
your
it will
fog
get.
lights.
Knowing
Way
the way
out on the island.
Knowing the way you go, just tell everybody to get out of the way.
I don't do that anymore.
Devin Mesoraco takes a strike. Mesoraco's 0 for 3 tonight. Grounded out, lined out, struck out. Tends to excel against relievers, particularly in the late innings. Pops this one up behind first base. Rizzo got a nice break on it and has plenty of room to make the catch. And the Mets are down to their final out of the night. So Jay Bruce bats with 2 out and a runner at first. Bruce is 1 for 3 tonight, singled back in the 2nd. Unless the Mets have a big rally in them, they will fall back to 500 for the 3rd time in the last week. They have not been below 500 all season. Began the year winning 11 of 12. Squandered all of that. And they'll be 27 and 27 at the exact 1/3 point of the season, barring a big rally. Ball 1 to Bruce. I think when you get 1/3 of the way through the season, that's the first time you can really extrapolate the numbers you're seeing and think about what they mean.
Oh, I agree. I mean, there's a reason that most people use Memorial Day as a day they look at it, because that usually is around the 1/3 point in the season. I think you also look inward and say, boy, what are we missing? What do we need? How can you play better?
Well, it used to be that when you got to Memorial Day, if you were a front office, you had 2 weeks to figure out what you needed, because the trading deadline was June 15th. But for many years, it's been July 31st, and gives you a lot more time to try and figure out what's going to make you stronger for a stretch drive.
More people in it, of course, with the extra wild cards.
Strop struggling to throw strikes, and now he does. 3-1 to Bruce. And you also have many more teams that are not really in it to win it. and that affects the deadline as well. That's ball 4, so 2 walks in the inning from Strop, and we might see Brandon Morrow. See if Joe Maddon's going to make the move right here, and here he comes. So Morrow, the closer, staying on call in case Strop needed help, and it looks like he's coming in the game. Mets have a couple of men on in the 9th. Not done yet. We'll be right back to Citi Field. Time closer, and he has taken that job and run with it.
Yeah, he really has, since going into the bullpen last year for the Dodgers, where he was impeccable till really the World Series, or maybe he was overused. Has been great. 12 to 13, hasn't given up a home run. We were figuring out between breaks. Gary got the number. 73 games without giving up the long ball.
20 games this year, 45 last year, and his last 8 games of 2016 when he was with the Padres. So that's 73 games without allowing a home run. Imagine that. Ahmed Rosario up, 2 out and 2 on in the 9th. Mets down by 4. So they need one more base runner to get the tying run to the plate.
Morrow, when he was a starter, when he first came up with Toronto, you thought he was going to be a huge star. Fastball, split finger changeup, and slider. Mostly fastball slider now as a reliever.
Evan Plawecki, the last available position player on the Mets bench, has a bat in his hands. And Rosario rolls one out to Russell. He gets the force, and the Cubs take the opening game of the series. 6 scoreless innings for Jose Quintana. And after Seth Lugo started and pitched well, the Mets bullpen gets thumped as the Cubs beat the Mets tonight 5-1.
Well, I just think the Mets just came out flat, and when they fell down 2-0, it just took what little air there was for them in this ball game. But Brandon Nimmo right here continues, as Gary mentioned, just to impress and shine, improving now against left-hand pitching. Went 2 for 4 tonight against the lefties. Hit his 6th home run. I mean, he's really turned it on. It's nice to see.
And after Lugo's excellence over 4 innings, the Mets used 5 relievers. All of them gave up a run except for Scott Copeland.
Copeland in his Mets debut got 4 outs. Everybody else got touched. Lugo was good. We'll see how long he stays in the rotation. Game summary presented by Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Geico, the #1 insurer in the New York market, by the Lincoln Motor Company, and by Citi, preferred card of the New York Mets. Final score tonight, Cubs 5, Mets 1. Game 2 of the series tomorrow night. Zach Wheeler on the mound for the Mets against Tyler Chatwood. Our coverage begins at 6:30 tomorrow night right here on SNY. Now for Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling, Steve Gelbs, and our entire SNY crew, I'm Gary Cohen at Citi Field. Time for WB Mason post-game live. Let's join Gary Apple, Nelson Figueroa, and Todd Zeal. Guys?